Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to our channel. Dr. Harley here. Hey, today we're going to be working on a 15K service for a 2019 Road Glide Special. For those of you who's curious, yes, it's my bike. You see me do the 5K on my bike. Now I'm going to do on my other bike, the 2020 Lowrider S. Now I'm going to do the 15K on my 2019 Road Glide Special. And what does that entail? I have all my oil changes lined up with every service interval, which means I use synthetic oil and I change it every 5,000 miles. So in a 15K service, now I'm going to read it, I have it here on my Surface, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's going on here. We're going to inspect the air cleaner and clean it and service it as required. We're going to change the primary crankcase lubricant. We're going to check our clutch adjustment. It's a hydraulic clutch, so there really isn't any way to adjust it. We're just going to check the reservoir, make sure it's topped off, make sure it's got good fluids, and being that it's a 2019, it's probably coming due to get changed soon, probably next season. We're going to change the transmission fluid and check and inspect the magnets. Whenever you change your oils, look at your magnets. On your primary, you should have some fine metal filings, that's okay. But on your engine oil and your transmission, you should have none. And if you do, now you have something to look at. We're going to check and adjust the belt. We're going to grease the foot and shift and brake levers. We're going to check the rear brake pedal adjustment. We're going to check the rear brake fluid reservoir for its level and condition. We're going to inspect the oil lines and brake system for leaks. We're going to check the operation of the throttle enricher and controls. That's if you have a carburetor. I have throttle by wire fuel injection, so that's not applicable. We're going to check the cruise control on the road test. Make sure it engages and disengages, either by hitting the button, hitting the brakes, or pulling the clutch in. We're going to check the battery. We're going to check the voltage at the battery while it's idling, while it's off. We're going to make sure that while it's running, we're getting at least 14.1 to 14.3 volts. We're going to change our spark plugs. We're going to check the tire pressure and inspect the tread on our tires. We're going to inspect and lube the front fork bearings. Yes, the triple trees are coming apart. I'm probably not going to videotape that. It's quite in depth, but that's going to have to get done. We're going to check conditions of the rear shock absorbers. The stabilizer links and engine mounts, we're going to look at those because the rubber engine mounts, I believe, them being worn leads to the death wobble, and that's something I don't want with my wife and I riding on this bike. We're going to check fasteners except for the engine head bolts. We're going to check engine low and fast idle speed adjustment. Again, it's throttle by wire. So with all that being said, I'm going to reposition the camera and we're going to dig right into this. Okay, as of right now, the only tools I'm going to need to start this 15K service, oh yes, I've already changed all the fluids, the motor, the primary, transmission, and I flushed the brake systems. So let's take a look at our brake pads. We're going to look at the rear. We're going to check our tire pressure. So the only tools I need right now is a flashlight and my tire pressure gauge. So I'm going to look at the brake pads, which is simply just take a look at them on both sides, and they look pretty good. We're going to take a look at our rear brake disc. We're going to feel it for any hard gouges or anything like that, and it feels pretty good. The rim is dirty. That, you know, got to get the wife on there to clean it. So now we're going to do the rear tire pressure. I like my tire pressure at 40 psi. Even though Harley says 30, but 38, I like 40. Well, it's at 38 right now. So I'm actually going to leave it. 38 PSI is good. That's what Harley recommends. I usually like 40, but you know, when I get out riding and the tires heat up, it's going to jump up in temperature. So while I'm here, I'm going to take a look down at my tires. My tires are in great shape. This is a fairly new tire I put on last spring. So I'm just looking around, looking at everything. The other side, we're going to check the belt adjustment. Going to look at my exhaust, make sure that's good and tight. Let me get some tools to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I got a 1/2 inch drive on my 3/8 ratchet. And check the rear mount bolts. I'm going to work from my way back forward. And I'm just going to put a wrench on them. I'm going to make sure they're tight. You know, I'm not going to sit there and try and tighten them down anymore, but I'm just going to make sure they're tight. Now, I have a 15mm socket on a 1/2 inch drive ratchet. Now, the muffler clamp bolts. I'm going to make sure these are tight. Things do loosen up, and those are nice and tight. Alright, so moving forward, I'm going to reposition this camera. Come on along. Take a look at the front of this, or at the side. I'm going to again grab my flashlight. I'm going to look around. Looking at all the dirt that's in here that I have to clean out. I've got the starter. Make sure that's on, you know, good and tight. Look at our exhaust bolts. Those are a 1/2 inch. Now while I'm here, I'm looking on the inside at the oil cooler lines on the back head. I'm going to see if they're leaking at all, and they're not, which is a good thing. There's no leaks there. I'm going to look up on the top of the motor, make sure everything is nice and clean and neat. Now our front engine stabilizer is right here. And I believe that's a 1/2 inch or 9/16. I'm going to put a wrench on that, or my socket. And it is 9/16. Let me grab that socket. Let me bring this around so you can see what I'm doing. Right inside of here where you see my finger, that's the nut I'm checking. That's a 9/16. And that's good and tight. It's easier when you don't have the lower leg fairings, but I have them. And while I'm here, I'm going to take a look up inside my fairing. Going to look at all the hoses for the brakes, the clutch. And so far we're in good shape. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. So next is I'm going to check my caliper mount bolts. Those are a 12 point. I'm going to move the camera. They're a 12 point 10 millimeter. So I'm going to put my ratchet on there. Those are good and tight. Now I'm going to come around the other, in front of the bike, and I'm going to look at the front tire. I'm going to check the tire pressure and the front brakes. Well, let me do the tire pressure first. This one Harley recommends at 40 PSI. And we have 40 PSI. Get yourself a good tire pressure gauge. Those pen styles, they're okay. They get you in the ballpark. But I like something I know that if I set it, that's going to be there. So coming around to the front of the bike, we're going to take a look at our tire. Alright, and I want to feel it. Besides the tread wear, which is about half worn, so that's good, that's original tire, is I want to feel it. I don't know if you guys ever noticed on your tires, you feel them cupped. What I mean cupped is they'll literally feel like scallops, or they're cupped, or like a fish scale. And that's caused from having bad tire pressure or incorrect tire pressure while you're riding. It's always important to check your tire pressure. Just remember that every change in temperature of every 5 degrees will change your tire pressure by 1 pound. So 5 degrees temperature change will change by 1 pound. Alright, so I'm going to come around to the other side of the front tire. I don't know if you notice a sequence that I'm doing here, is that I am working my way around the motorcycle. Alright, so now I'm going to check this caliper. Okay, that's good and tight. Yes, I did paint my caliper mount bolts. I did go out and buy black ones. And again, I'm going to check my brakes. I'm going to take a flashlight and looking at my brake pads. The front brakes look really good, just like the back. So I'm in good shape here for this riding season or for my 15K service. Alright, so going around here, we're going to check the other stabilizer link. Let me reposition this camera and we'll get around to that. Just so you guys can see what I'm talking about and where it is. Alright, the other front stabilizer link is right here where my finger is. So that one is also a 9/16. And that's good and tight. It's very important to check the tightness of everything on your bike. Alright, now we're going to take a look at our heads. Make sure there's no oil leaks or anything like that. I did replace my spark plugs at the last service at 5,000 miles because I just did cams to this. And I wanted fresh spark plugs when I went and had a dyno tube. So I'm not going to do that now, even though it calls for it to be done at the 15K service. But I am going to pull them out. I am going to take a look at them. So there you go. Again, if you guys have any questions, please leave a comment down below. You can send me an email. My email is robertchop@gmail.com. Or you could, just, if you see me, you can always, ask me in person. Again, there's 4 spark plugs total on this, but I'm only going to pull these 2. But guys, I want to see how it's burning, how it's running, and it's running clean. The center of my electrode is white, or tan I should say, so it's not running rich, it's not running lean. If it's bright white and it's not a brand new spark plug, you're running a little lean. If it's dark and sooty, you're running real rich. So you're looking for a nice tan coloration on the center electrode. And give me a minute, we're taking these out. And this one is also pretty tan. So they're looking good. Again, they're a little wet because, after I changed the fluids is I started it up, let it build up oil pressure, get the oil flowing around, and then I rechecked the levels just to make sure that the bike was serviced correctly. It was over-serviced or under-serviced. Always start your spark plugs by hand. Again, I've said it before, so this way you don't cross-thread them. That's the last thing you want to do. So now we're going to tighten these up. It's not a gorilla tight. Okay. Okay. And if you're curious, it's a 5/8 socket. I do have the spark plug sockets. What's nice about them is they have a little rubber piece in the center, so if you take out the spark plug, it holds onto it and pulls it out. So now we're going to take our flashlight again. We're going to look for any signs of oil leaks, because remember, this is an oil-cooled motor, so we're going to check our oil cooler, and that looks pretty good. We're going to check our fuel line here, make sure there's no oil leaks going into the throttle body or the injectors. No oil leaks coming from our oil cooler tubes across the top and also the front. That looks really good. We're going to check our play here. Now, on your shifters, see it's a little wobbly here, but that's okay. I'll pull this up, put a little grease on it. This way it's good, which I will get to and do that. And then I'm going to do the brake, because that's what it calls for in the service. Now we're going to look down here at the inboard shifter. Now give me a minute, I'm going to get the tools, because I'm going to put a socket on that and make sure that's tight. Okay, I got the ball socket, so you can see it. It's a ball end and it's a long Allen socket. So let me move this over here so you can see where I'm getting into here. Alright, so I put a flashlight in there because I'm old and I can't see so good. So I'm going to put it on there and I'm going to tighten this up. Make sure it's good and tight. Believe it or not, these will loosen up on you, and when they do loosen up, that's when you start to have them slip and strip, and then it's a whole lot of work just to replace that part, because the whole outer and inner primary have to come off with, you know, the clutch basket and the compensator and the cam chain tensioner. It's a big job just to change this arm. So it's always good that whenever you service your bike, to make sure that's nice and tight. I'm going to take a look at my horn mount. I love that. That's a Maltese Cross. That's an old school horn cover. It was rusted and pitted when I got it from a friend of mine, and I had it powder coated and it looks brand new, but it's an old school mount. Now we're going to come back here and check the exhaust, which is, again, we do have that big clamp with the 15mm nut, and we're just going to make sure that's nice and tight. And then the 2 1/2-inch nuts that hold the muffler on. I've seen somebody riding down the road with the one muffler hanging down. Oh, that one's loose. I found one that was loose. So see, I found one that was loose that holds the back of my muffler up. So you always want to check. There's perfect case why you want to check everything. Now we're going to check our belt tension. And the belt tension is really good. So here we are. Now I'm going to rearrange this camera, and we're going to go around and check our lights. Okay, now we're going to check our lights, and with the magic of cameras, I don't need to do anything other than look at the screen. So I'm going to turn the bike on. I got both my running lights. I'm going to check the rear brake, and that comes on. I'm also checking my tri-bar light, because that's also a brake light. If you notice, it gets nice and bright when I hit the brakes. And I'm going to check the lever brake. And that works. Now I'm going to check my right turn signal. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to check the left side. Left turn signal works beautifully. And I'm going to check my high beam, low beam, flash the pass, and last but not least the horn. And now I'm going to turn the bike off. So all the lights have been checked, all the lights are done. And what's left is greasing up the shifter lever and the brake lever for the rear brakes, and a road test. Okay everybody, so now you can see there really isn't a whole lot to doing your 15K service. And dealerships charge an astronomical amount of money to do that. That is something you can do yourself. If you like this video, leave a comment down below. Please click the like and subscribe if you haven't done so at all. And if you're new here, I forgot it in the beginning, my bad, welcome. But if you see me out and about while I'm on my bike or not, and you say, hey, there's Dr. Harley, I follow you on YouTube, you will receive these Dr. Harley stickers. Yep, that's right, I do have stickers. They're smaller than I anticipated, excuse me, itch, and I'm getting larger ones made as soon as the channel can afford to, but I went out and I ordered these stickers. So if you're out and about, everybody loves stickers, and you see me, ask, and you recognize me, say, hey, that's Dr. Harley. Hey, what's going on? Say hello, introduce yourself if I don't know you, and I'll give you one of these. Yep, Dr. Harley stickers. That's a new thing. I also have business cards. So, hey, come on out. If you see me out and about, I'll do that. What's coming up next for Dr. Harley? I'll tell you, I have a 15 streak light here in the shop. It has a charging issue. And we were going to go through on how to troubleshoot your charging system. I'm not going to get too much more into it here, but I will in my next video. So, again, please click the like and subscribe on the bottom. Hit that bell notification so you get notified every time I upload a video. Until the next one, live the best life you can, ride hard, and ride often.